before I let you go completely, unless we have a late HP show, let's just shortly discuss something amazing. So, I always love the knowledge of what era we're in, for me, of faith, spirituality, with Christ consciousness, all encompassing hand. And my belief begins with my catechism and being raised with God, Jesus, angels. So mysticism is different than the spirituality, Holy Spirit conversation, but just they're different, but they say not the same thing. They come together and expand. Well, to me, they expand my energetic field and my mind, because I'm a flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. So the integrated brain of a healthy self-worth person is where our faith is unbreakable. The Christ consciousness bit, not just because of Christ for those of us who are of faith, but goes beyond that, because we all know that we're not welcome. The mystic community, tarot readers, Akashic record readers, all of that, which involves Reiki. So it's not welcome for reasons. It's understandable, but putting all that aside, to me, my spirituality, faith, all of it has expanded, not diminished, because they all come together. They say the same thing, science is included, which is that you and I contain kindness. We also contain that which can be quote unquote badness. But this is where, for me, I'm biased. I'm a divine feminine. There's not badness, there's moodiness, there's shame. Shame is a defectiveness button. It's healable. Okay, so science just proves to me what I had gotten taught as I was growing up with catechism, which is we're all, again, the cloak of Christ, and this encompassing hand. When I got my catechism, I recognized my second light body expansion because I had had my first with my confirmation. And that's because those are called explicit memories. So the way the brain is made, I learned this from Dr. Daniel Siegel in interpersonal neurobiology, but also from my course with our various courses with NICBM. This one's with Julianne, not Janina Fisher. Julianne, I forget her last name, but she took IPNB with Dr. Daniel Siegel too. So she's describing something that I learned. I just don't always remember all the technical verbiage. But essentially, when you are, so one, belief, open heart, your wholeness, this means something to 5D mystic, yes, and universal love. So it expands what I begin as a child with God, Jesus, angels, to then having my confirmation, to then having my clairs come up, which is when I know that not everybody from my community will welcome me, because I had been taught about tarot, Akashic, all that stuff. But I know it's not devil, demon. It's part of the sphere of energy. It's part of the all-encompassing hand, and it's a benevolent. It's not a evil energy. It's not a scary energy. Okay, so that's where you're going to know the difference with how you were raised. Because if you have a parent or parents or a childhood where it's scary, humans are demons, you're going to be a person who is going to go and read to me all of the scripture from all of that stuff that I have heard and continue to hear. And people who are closed in it, they're not going to listen to any one of us that is on YouTube. They are completely, it's kind of like when the ones who stay away. I mean, we have a creationism museum. Completely not what I learned from catechism, that God wants us to be ignorant. So my point is that faith is not the words that we use, because anyone who has any type of true faith is going to be a feeling. So you're going to know how you bring it all together, and that's what the power of the divine feminine in me can tell you. I've noticed the divine masculines, until they have embodiment of their whole divine feminine. And even then, and I'm going to do some storytelling in a minute, because Sadhguru, he shares something. And see, I've heard him talk a lot online, of course. I haven't had the honor or pleasure to meet him, but I've heard him tell his version of Jesus. And I have my own personal, whether you want to call them biases or preferences, but I kind of laughed. I'm like, that's your personal subjective opinion. You have a culture, you have a past, I know where you come from, you have a heritage, like I do. I have a Christian Catholic heritage, but it's the Christian one with me saying yes to forgiving, loving from my child-centric way to continuing to embrace who I am, and that divine feminine as a nurturer that is my complete. That's all I love to love. I do not want to have something different, but the feeling of embodying grace and this generosity comes with my restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating human being, humanity, and my integration of the brain. So my 1 year, my 2 year, my 3 year. So sciences proves to me something that I don't need proof for it. I can embody it all the time. I explain it. I can share it knowing that people who are not embodying flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brain, they're not going to hear this. So the ones who are open to it, obviously that's IHP collective and 5D collective, because they're all embodying this. They're all embodying more information. They enjoy it. So they would have noticed what I noticed, and they will have been aware, like I'm aware of myself, that when he's speaking, Sadhguru in this case, about Jesus in a couple of different ways, not really. So I have like, no. But I'm not saying it with a casting of a stone. It's not it's a refutable fact. No, that's wrong. No, it's not. I don't prefer how he's presenting his words because it's personal, but it's not personal to the extent that where I'm going to be like, you're wrong. No, it's your interpretation. Sadhguru, great for you. So this is where empowered, healthy, self-worth people do this. Not what you see online with, people telling you yoga brings demons out of you. That's ridiculous. It's closed-minded. You're small energy. You're locked in yesterday's time. I don't need to meet you because you're something of a regurgitation of a book. I'll just go grab him and I'll make better use of it. Of course, I'll use the data points that you present because they can make me laugh alongside others. But the point is that is a mind that is not open to seeing something more. Not even their self. They're not mindfully aware of what they just spoke out of their mouth. Like when I saw a man in a cloak. It was from my own group. And I'm seeing them speak on screen. They had Sadhguru. This is on news, that lovely TV little box. So this man with a cross and all of it, as he's being interviewed, he speaks the words. And I laughed as soon as he finished speaking because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I mean, again, Sadhguru, he does with respect. You can just tell where he comes from, which is normal, meaning I am Maria. I come with my Christian Catholic upbringing. I have bicultural nature, okay? So I know who I am. So I can say authentically, I have a past. Not imposing it on anyone, but I'm going to be interpreting. This is why Robert Sapolsky was determined. He can't disprove God or free will. He can use the word. Sure he can, and anybody who wants to say it to somebody else, they can say it. Now you will have an emotionally triggerable person if the person is an adaptive child. If you have a person who's completely embodying who they are and their belief and all of that, they're not going to flinch. And the more that they put into practice mindfulness living, spirituality with fun, the playfulness is here, meaning nobody owns information, nobody owns knowledge, nobody owns the stories. If we need to do this irrefutable facts, there's a very small specific number of equations for the highly emotionally, mentally, physically intelligent of faith or not faith. It doesn't, okay? So the community of 5D is this and beyond. Without the stories from the 4D land, we're going to keep making fun of that one because I can't help myself. When this lady was talking about how the first wave and the second wave and the third and fourth, the twin flames, and they held down the 5D bandwidth and the matrix was broken, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I mean, I know what you're talking about, but that's not actually what happened in the years that I've been following, and it's completely different, but again, perspective. So long story short, he is Sadhguru sharing how to make yourself available to grace and that it can lead to a life beyond your own imagination and how to invite it in your life. Okay, so this is where good therapists like Dr. Daniel Siegel can tell you, hey, get your integrated brain and come on over, do therapy, do the wheel of awareness, and completely you will get the same result, which is why spirituality and sciences, they come together. This man in a cloak, as he's on TV and he's pointing, they're talking about Sadhguru because I saw his image. This dude says, well, people need something to believe in. I laugh because I'm like, what do you think? The God that we talk about over here is different than Shiva, Kali, or whatever other words. You really, like, your brain functions affect, no, it doesn't. It's a closed brain. You see what I'm saying? So as he says this, I'm just laughing because I'm like, what do you think people believe in when they come to you? It's the same thing. You just use a different word. At the end of the day, you and I, human beings, have secondary consciousness. This is why I was saying faith is not the words. As a person of faith, that's why I can share with you my personal subjective experience, obviously. And this is where the words mean the same thing, but they embody more. Because if I'm using my Christian wording, it's going to have the energetic imprint and, in fact, the embodiment of angels and stories from that. If I have esotericism, it's going to embody that. And so for me, Divine Feminine, 5D Mystic, I perceive the energetic imprint of all these different stories, which they add to something called this beautiful sphere for those of us of faith. For those who don't believe, they just mock, and that's disrespectful. No, it shows me how closed-minded you are and how ignorant you are and how small you are and how ridiculous you are. When I heard a sciences man say, there's never ever been a medium ever. Wow, you really know how to not be a true scientist. The true scientist knows that 97% of what is out there is unavailable to you. A true scientist, like a true human being, is playful with their brain because they're empowered. So anyways, true is the land of truth above neutrality, because they know how to be equanimous. Let me specify. So anyone who has high emotional, mental, and physical intelligence is laughing with me, because that's exactly what it means to use the left and right mode in the absence, saying, how dare you speak words? Those are all, they're not even teenagers. They're just more and more getting, you know, when old people, they say some of them get bitter and they get all cranky and cold. Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. That's what you'll find. There's no adolescent spark. In fact, they're dying piece of consciousness, meaning that their energy body is withering away with their mind. And oh, if this generation, it's awful, it's awful. So long story short though, as a side note, Sadhguru says, only if you make yourself available to grace can it do something that you yourself could never do. If we see ourselves as just two-legged creatures with a certain amount of intelligence, what we can do with our strength, intelligence, and knowledge is very limited. If you open the window of grace, then life will happen in ways that you have not imagined possible. And so again, he's a guru. It's great to have him. Like it's great to have the Christian spirituality who are open to all. Then we have the ones who are open only to, you know, the past. And we will respect that because that is the emotionally equanimous grown-up thing to do. And it is actively, why would you not understand what cognitive dissonance is, or structural dissociation, or where something is so unachievable to that brain? Okay, so it's about the lack of capacity for these human beings who are closed-minded to open themselves up. Now, I'm not trying to talk about them in a way of saying they're dumb. No, I can be dumb. They lack the capacity to desire to integrate their left and right by choosing not only their modality of words, but also their lack of mindfully aware regulating, and they dismiss attachment and trauma information, including neuroscientific, that shows there's no demons that are in your brain, neuroscientists. So here's why 5D and beyond is not going to be using their time with 4D stories, besides laughing about it. We all come together with different pieces of information, great and dandy. By the time you get to your first round as a mystic, you're going to be like, what the fuck are they talking about? There's not 3 planets. There's not divine. What is this? You're sounding like the other people who are wanting to say that we can't have the capacity to use Reiki because they think Reiki means different. They're disrespecting an entire heritage because it's not according to their books. Are they stupid? Because seriously, it's stupidity to me. Lack of intelligence and lack of faith, true faith, because it's here. It's again not the words. You can keep the words, they add up every year. Like right now we're adding, which is where that remember the guy that interrupts me and says, excuse me, you're mixing up science and spirituality, you're confusing them. So I get curious because at the end of the day, I got a 3-year-old in front of me. I'm a divine feminine, and I don't have to prove Maria because Maria is not provable. She's right there talking to the person. I have no distorted ego. I'm just Maria's ego and self all together and having a good time. Also with attachment trauma information, I don't want to use my time with anybody who lacks the intelligence to move into their prefrontal cortex because it's not going to be fun. not intellectually, not emotionally, not physically. It doesn't matter who they are. I won't want to disrespect them, but I will say, you don't know how to be creative. To you, I'm stupid. That's good and dandy. I don't want to disrespect you, so nice meeting you. Ciao, ciao. See you later, alligator. In the meantime, I laugh at, a man in a cloak talking about people needing something to believe in. We all know that. The people who don't understand their secondary human consciousness and how it works with knowing, you will wake up and then you will die, and you don't know when. And any human can meet the evolutionary and existential psychologist who let you know what that is. I call it a condition because I'm not afraid of it, because I talked about it to God and Marcus Aurelius, and he said, hey, Maria, why are you doing this? Don't use your time on worrying. You're not going to do anything with it. You know what, Marcus, you're right. So I learned, as a divine feminine, we're quick to learn. I don't know if it's quick. It's just we don't repeat the same steps twice at all. Like, not even. Oh, I love my expansion. So anyways, long story short, what I wanted to conclude with is that I love Sadhguru. He's out there, but the grace he's talking about, in addition to doing yoga and anything that you want, it's one, you own in your child parts. Please remember that. So Patrick Tiahan is very important. And all the good therapists, if you have anything remotely envy, jealousy, spite, suffering, you don't have, like the Zen master could make use of more therapists, okay? So that he could get out of his story and get into doing emotions. Now, he doesn't have to. You don't have to do more emotion. That's why. But long story short, Sadhguru could learn about psychoeducation, but he doesn't want to. So when I got to see him in an interview, I was so looking forward to him being able to answer the very intelligent question posed to him, because I knew what the man was talking about. And he could have completely come in with yoga is a ventral vagal portfolio of nervous system toning exercises that integrates the 3 pillars of the mind, which is mindfulness and meditation, and then mindsight, if the body of the person is able to pick up what comes up from here, the emotions, so they have a window welcome. And so it is because of meditation and 3 pillars of the mind, focus, attention, awareness, and being able to handle, though you have a window welcome, otherwise that's where we want the good therapist to be here. And then we have kind intention. So with that, and Dr. Daniel Siegel with his wheel of awareness, which is really great. So you having the combination of sciences and spirituality bring forth the heaven in the body, the inner child of every person, the kindness that we all embody and can, the human goodness that I learned from catechism and from my version of God that I got taught, versus the shaming, scary one that all these other human beings who I said, hey God, I'm not following them. I don't know who they are, but I know they're playing you and you're not this, because there's no way in hell that a creator will have wanted to do any of scaring people the way that they're doing this, the way they're using the word sin, the way they're using the word devils, demons, Lucifers, the way they lack complete capacity to use their brain intellectually in any interesting way. Because the minute somebody is using this wording to me, you call it monster, you call it that, you use any of that, I know you don't know how to make an argumentation for whatever it is you're presenting to me, because you just needed to make it sound like you're dismissing not only the character perhaps of a person, but you don't know how to use your words. You're insulting, quote unquote. You're not insulting. You're a lack of intelligent human being completely, and you're a lack of aware person with your ears, because you also don't hear the words that some people, they come out with these fancy words, lack of imagination for evil. And they're in the field and they don't know a forensic criminologist, Michael Stone, and his beautiful scale of, you know what, should we really be using philosophical and religious text with evil when there's like, here's a scale, they all need therapy. Oh, and oh, look, our personality disorders, they are healable. So anytime you hear anybody telling you that humans can't achieve goodness or kindness, those are the people who are not to be looked at, by the way, in the sense of they don't believe in themselves, because they don't believe in humanity. They also believe that faith is contained in books, and therefore they're facade, because they're using their left mode, words. I take away the words, you're still feeling, and FYI, you feel first. You think after. Julianne. So the brain and the way it works, and when we're having explicit moments, explicit memory, are basically when you've lived the moment before. And so with the light body thing, before I forget, but It's, let's say you did a presentation one spring, is how Julianne puts it. And now you're in a similar setting and you remember that moment from the springtime, from that, oh, 3 years ago I did this thing, da da da. That's what an explicit memory is like. So I have mine, one of which is the confirmation when I got the Holy Spirit. And again, I know some people will be not very, fond of this human being here, but I remember it. That's why when I got my second light body, I was like, wow, I'm expanding. And the third, as I recognized the feeling, because I had it the first time around. And you can only recognize something when you have known it and when you experience it, which is also why it's when people allow themselves to be in different situations. But what I really wanted to say is it's when a person gets treated in a different way than they're expecting. The lovely sciences, somatic empath, the good therapist. The minute that you give a person respect, love, and acceptance in a way that they did not expect it is when you've opened up their body and their embodied brain to something different, which is why it's only if a person welcomes their self back home that they will welcome unconditional love, that they will welcome grace, and they don't have to have faith. But again, so yoga and everything from the institutions, the entire heritage and background of yoga in general, it supports your ventral vagal toning, the 3 pillars of the mind, focus, attention, awareness, and kind intention, which supports integration of the brain. So when you learn from enough smart people what it is to be a person with or without faith, you'll be able to have grace with or without Sadhguru, but the will to get there. So the will to get there for some involves first therapy and for I don't know how long. And then it's also involving you knowing how to have healthy others, by the way, which is why our collective embodies and embraces a lot of different topics here, because I'm not only coming to you with one, it's I want to support people that want to be their self, to continue doing it, and having, the grace thing. You don't have to use the word though, but let's respect differences and just know some people aren't gonna like us. We're not trying to be mean. We want to love more people, and we believe in human kindness and goodness, and we do know there's the other end of the spectrum. Thank you for the ones who will want to keep on doing that. 3D40, they have a lot of fun stuff. And we have a lot of interesting stuff too, and we all come with our own past. So we share it together. Welcome aboard. I look forward to being back again. Have a good one.